Welcome to the Viking Age podcast. It's the official podcast of thevikingage.com. My name is Chris Schad. I write for the Viking Age as well as Zone Coverage and the Brookings Register, as well as Bring Me the News. Sorry. As a one-person show, I'm making sure I'm on the air. So you'll have to forgive me here if the intro is a little bit rocky here. But we do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. Again, my name is Chris Schad. Adam Patrick is normally my co-host, but he is out today. I think he was having a birthday party for his kid. So, I was texting him about the game yesterday and he was getting back to me and he was just like, I'm not watching it. And it was like a picture of a bounce house. And I'm like, oh, that's like the Jacksonville Jaguars after the whistle, shots to the head, suplex. There's a fucking spine buster yesterday. Sorry for the F-bombs. They're probably going to be frequent in this episode. Just a lot of things going on in that game. So it was a good game to not watch the Vikings, but we're still going to have my overreactions to Sunday's game because what would a Monday be without an overreaction? I'm going to acknowledge someone today as well as I am apt to do on Mondays. And then, we got 50 minutes here. So if I'm short and we got a little bit of time, drop me a question in the comments today. I'd love to answer some Vikings questions if you got any concerns or whatever. Maybe they will correlate to some of my overreactions, so I'll drop them in throughout there. Let's have a show today. Let's have some fun because the Minnesota Vikings are 7-2 on the season. And there's plenty to get to because that was not a game that you're going to hang in the what is it, Lover? I think it's a Louvre. I don't know. I don't speak French. But week 10, the Vikings winning 12-7 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we might as well start with my overreactions. And this is probably my biggest overreaction. And I think it's an overreaction compared to how some people are reacting to the win this morning. I am really glad that Kevin O'Connell is head coach in the Minnesota Vikings. And it came to me while watching his post-game speech, because if you're a fan of the show, you've heard me before. I make fun of his speeches all the time because they kind of sound the same. All right, guys, 7 months ago, we set out on a journey, and this journey was to get us to the playoffs and do everything else. Now, did some things happen? Yes. But we won. We did and then he hands out 100 game balls. Phil Mackey of Purple Daily makes this point a lot. And it really resonated with me yesterday that when you watch Kevin O'Connell's post-game speech and you think about how things with Mike Zimmer went, especially at the end, it is night and day. You can see why these guys are willing to go to hell and back for Kevin O'Connell because he believes in them. He shows them that he believes in them. I dialed up a post-game locker room speech by Mike Zimmer after a 2021 game against the Bears. The Vikings did not deserve to win that game. I think it was a Monday night shit show. Kirk Cousins didn't have the best game. And the first words out of Mike Zimmer's mouth was, well, it doesn't have to be this way, guys. We got to get better at this. We got to get better at that. But hey, I guess you won. Congrats. Let's go get better. Kevin O'Connell on Sunday probably was super pissed off with how that game went. Defense balled out. Special teams did its job. Offense moved the ball. Sam Darnold turned the ball over a ton. There's a lot of positives, and there was one glaring negative that nearly cost them a game. And we'll talk about Sam Darnold in just a little bit. But in that moment, it would have been shocking if he just went up there and just cut open a vein. Just we got to get better. This is not good enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that is Kevin O'Connell today, or even, I guess they have Victory Monday today, but on Tuesday in the meetings, hey guys, this isn't good enough. We have to shore up this. We have to shore up this. We have to take care of the ball. All those little things can wait until Tuesday. In that moment, it wouldn't have been shocking for Kevin O'Connell to go nuclear Earth. Instead, he says things like this. we get 60 minutes and we don't get to decide how those 60 minutes go. Definitely true in a football game. All I know is over and over again, our defense said, hell fucking no. And he highlighted the entire field goal unit, which, again, another thing we'll get to in this episode. But he said we moved the ball up and down the field and we will improve. And what I loved was he turned to Sam Darnold and said, everybody in this locker room knows you are the fucking guy that's going to take us there. And Sam Darnold did not play well. That's a big talker in this game. But I think the encouragement and focusing on the positives goes a long way. Give me 1 minute. One of the bad things about doing a show by yourself is live podcasting. Gotta love it, right? Had to lubricate the pipes there a second. One of the things that I love is that encouragement goes a long way. And I can vouch for that personally in my career, because a couple of years ago, I was going to get out of writing and broadcasting and all that stuff because I didn't think it was going anywhere. Little did I know I wasn't taking the initiative to get somewhere with it, but I was going to go into a career of, marketing or advertising. Or I think the last job I interviewed for, it was like writing thank you cards to donors for a university. And I didn't get that job. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? And I had coffee with a friend, sat down, and we were talking about our careers. And I said, yeah, I used to call games. I used to do this. I used to do it, but it just wasn't good enough. And I don't know, I'm going to do something else. And she said to me, why did you stop? Like, you should keep going. And just that, she didn't do much by saying that, but those words of encouragement really sparked something in me to push forward, to do more, to keep going, and to get better at what I'm doing. And now, I'm covering a D1 university in Brookings, South Dakota. I'm doing this podcast. I'm connecting with all of you. And honestly, I'm just a lot happier. Relating this back to football, Sam Darnold, he throws 3 picks, probably isn't feeling great about himself. He could have had 4 or 5 like Jared Goff did that last night. But Kevin O'Connell, positives. You're going to get better. Like this is a bad game. It's just a one-off. We're going to fix this. And, you look at a guy like Anthony Richardson with the Colts. After that game last week, some video came out late in the week of Kevin O'Connell going up to Anthony Richardson, being like, hey, you're the guy. This organization believes in you. Like, everybody believes in you still. Like, this is just a speed bump. You're going to be okay. And I think Anthony Richardson is probably hearing some version of that from Shane Steichen in Indianapolis. I would at least hope so. But you see why people are so enamored with Kevin O'Connell. He gets it. He gets it from a player standpoint, especially from a quarterback standpoint, where, today's players, they're not going to like the Mike Zimmer, grouchy, whatever's going on. Look at the Dallas defense right now. It's not a fun time, even with Micah Parsons back. Kevin O'Connell has these guys believing, and he has these guys playing hard. And were there some things that Kevin O'Connell could have done better in this game? Yes. Don't call that reverse on first down, which, trick plays are, a lose-lose situation when they don't work. Because it's just like, hey, were you smoking crack on that reverse call, or what are you doing here? But if it works, it's like, oh my God, Kevin O'Connell's a genius. They got a 20-yard gain on that play, or they got a touchdown in a game where points were super scarce. Like, what a brilliant play call. Sometimes you got to go deep in your bag. And would I have called a reverse on first down when you're driving into the Jacksonville red zone, needing a touchdown to ice the game? Probably not. I go north-south. But Kevin O'Connell wanted to go deep in his bag, and he gave it a try. Didn't work. That happens in a game. Aaron Jones's usage, bit of a red flag. He had that chest injury. I believe that's what they called it. And then he was cleared. Then he was on like the cart, and I'm like sitting there like, I hope he just has to poop or something. And then he comes back into the game, and I don't know. Like, They used Cam Akers a little bit more. Some of it was out of necessity. We even saw Ty Chandler in the game, and he looked good ripping off a couple of runs there late. But, he is building something to help this team achieve more than we thought this team could do. Because even going into the season, we're like, Sam Darnold's the quarterback. JJ McCarthy's hurt. This defense is good, but I mean, like, can you get 10 wins? Can you, maybe they wind up with 7. They passed the over under yesterday. Congratulations if you took the over on the Vikings, because it was 6.5 wins coming into the year. Like, expectations were pretty low coming into the year, and Kevin O'Connell has them at 7-2. They're in the middle of an NFC race that is wide open, even with the Lions looking like the best team in there. I don't think they're unbeatable, especially after last night. Like, they are in the thick of this fight. And I mean, if Kevin O'Connell went in that locker room and said, "Oh boy, you guys did a lot wrong, but I guess we won," those guys are going to be like, "Fuck you, dude." So I think that post-game speech was exactly what the team needed. And Kevin O'Connell is more than just post-game speeches. I think it's a culture. I think it's a mindset. And I think it's something that's helping the Vikings get through this season. And I don't want to say overachieve either, because they have a lot of good parts. We're going to talk about that in a second here. But I like what Kevin O'Connell did yesterday, motivating these guys. And I mean, he is the right coach to have right now. He's going to get an extension. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. I don't know if the Wolves think like he's going to sign the paper and they're going to lose 8 straight games to close the year. Kevin O'Connell is the coach this organization needs. And I think that, he's doing a great job this year, getting them where they need to go. So Dan Campbell's probably going to win coach of the year. Maybe even Andy Reid, considering the witchcraft that's going on in Kansas City. But that's probably for another podcast. The Witchcraft Podcast, coming soon to the Viking Age. Moving forward, I want to go to my second observation. And that is, or overreaction, I guess. The Vikings cannot bench Sam Darnold. And some of you are like, what are they thinking about it or whatever? I saw it online. I even thought it in my head because I was watching the game after the second or third interception. And I said, if Sam Darnold's just going to play like this, why not just put in Nick Mullins? And I even saw Pro Football Talk say, hey, Ryan Tannehill, he could probably do better than Sam Darnold. I mean, just imagine if Sam Darnold was throwing to Malik Neighbors. Like, they traded they were so close to making that deal, Justin Jefferson for Malik Neighbors, and, it just didn't materialize. Sometimes, I mean, or they could have traded for Matthew Stafford at the deadline. That would have been, it was this close to happening. Just ask Mike Florio. It was this close to happening. I know how reporting works. Sometimes you get leads, you go with them, and they don't turn out, but I don't know. It's as another podcast would call it, reckless speculation. And sometimes those deals come true, but this deal, not so much. Sam Darnold's what the Vikings have right now. And I know that doesn't sound appealing, especially after a game where he threw 3 picks, especially coming off another game where, he put up good stats against the Colts, but he wasn't like the MVP candidate we saw in the first 4 or 5 games. Darnold, over his last 5 games, now has 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He had 3 interceptions with 2 coming in the red zone on Sunday, although one of those looked like it hit the ground, but no. We didn't see anything. We didn't see pass interference in the Lions game. We didn't see a face mask, but they did see a face mask on Blake Cashman late in the game. They did catch that. So maybe they're improving. It's weird. Maybe, the purple gives it away or whatever. It's like Patrick Mahomes saying, oh, black cleats. You should have wore white cleats next time. Then they can't see your foot. It's that witchcraft stuff again. If JJ McCarthy were healthy, I think Kevin O'Connell pulls the trigger and he puts him in the game. But he's not healthy. He got hurt in the preseason and he's out for the year. And maybe that'll be a long-term benefit for the Vikings because they haven't had to play this whole, when do you go to McCarthy? Like, the fans are getting reckless. You got a top 10 pick on the bench, stick him in there. All of those things. But I think some of you don't remember what Nick Mullins is like. Because Nick Mullins, get him in there. Like, he's doing the same thing Darnold did. Lots of offense, lots of turnovers. That's basically what Nick Mullins and Sam Darnold are. And granted, Sam Darnold has a 4.7 turnover worthy plate right now, according to PFF. Now, it's 3.9 coming into yesterday's game. Obviously, 3 interceptions will do that for you. But that's still only the fourth highest in the league. Matthew Stafford has a higher rate. Jalen Hurts has a higher rate. Dak Prescott has a higher rate. And Kirk Cousins, in case you were wondering, he's 5th, right behind Sam Darnold. So it's bad, but it's not, oh my God, bad. But when you look at Nick Mullins, I was curious. I went back and looked last season. He had a 7% turnover worthy play rate. He did not qualify among starters because he didn't have enough snaps to do that. But his turnover rate is significantly higher than Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold a little bit higher in the last couple of weeks. So maybe if you take, I didn't do the splits there. So maybe you take the last 5 games, you get a different number out of that. But the Vikings knew what they were getting into here. They didn't sign Sam Darnold as a long-term franchise quarterback, which some of you, again, wanted to happen when he was slinging touchdowns and he had a 12-5 touchdown interception ratio or whatever it was. Maybe it was 12-3. Maybe he was that good. I don't know. But, all this talk about $130 million contract, 4 years, et cetera, just sign him. Like, we don't know what JJ McCarthy is. Like, Darnold wasn't expected to be the starter this long into the season. And JJ McCarthy may not have been ready if he was healthy. I mean, he lost a month because of that surgery because he couldn't go on the road, couldn't stand on the sidelines. At this point, he's on the sidelines. He's got a headset on. He's saying the plays out loud like he would in the huddle. He's doing all those things and just kind of immersing himself because that's all he can do right now is get mental reps. But they got to ride this out because I think – it would be great if you go to JJ McCarthy, but you don't have that option. You have Nick Mullins, who is even worse than Sam Darnold. And to go musical chairs with your quarterback isn't going to sit well with a team that goes 7-2. So getting back to that post-game speech, you have to instill confidence in Sam Darnold. You have to make him believe that he is part of this team and can keep this going. I mean, they're 7-2 with him. Yeah, he's thrown a lot of picks. You just hope you can kind of neutralize that a little bit. And again, too, it's kind of like both ends of regression. Darnold was making a lot of turnover-worthy plays at the beginning of the year, and the defense just wasn't catching the ball or recovering the fumble or any of that stuff. On Sunday, it felt like an extreme where everything was being caught. There weren't any drops. They were right in there. And there's got to be a conversation about, hey, like 18 down there somewhere is a good strategy. It has to be used with a little bit of caution because when there's a defender draped all over him, like that first interception, you might want to look somewhere else. That might be where Jordan Addison's a little frustrated. Even some of those throws to TJ Hawkinson, it was like, whoa, dude, slow down. You could definitely see things speeding up in his head as the game went along. But I mean, they just got to ride it out. And if they wind up, ass bombing, because Sam Darnold's carriage turns into a pumpkin, so be it. And maybe they do go to Nick Mullins at some point. But I don't think Kevin O'Connell wants to do that. I don't think the team wants to do. I mean, that might be part of the reason. They might be like, you're the quarterback that will take us where we're going to go because we've seen Nick Mullins practice and it's not good. So I don't know. I mean, Sam Darnold is not your franchise quarterback. That is JJ McCarthy. He is not available right now. So you just got to ride it out with what you have. And hopefully Sam Darnold improves to a point where the Vikings can go where they want to go. And the reason why I think Sam Darnold is the quarterback for that is because this team is not about the offense. I know we got the flashier players on that side of the ball. You got Aaron Jones, who's having a good season despite the injury. You have TJ Hawkinson back. You have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. We all love our 98 Vikings. And that kind of offense. Brett Favre came in, had that big season. Offense. That is why we love the Vikings. But this is a defensive team. This is an ultimate Mike Zimmer football team because they have a championship level defense behind Brian Flores. Like, you may not like this, but this is Sunday's game is kind of how I thought the Vikings were going to win games this year. You control the time possession. You held the ball for 40 minutes. You have the defense ball out. And yes, I know it was Mac Jones, but still pretty good. You limit giveaways on offense. They didn't do that, but they were able to overcome that, which another thing that Kevin O'Connell has been able to help his team do where, maybe the previous head coach, maybe the previous quarterback, those guys weren't exactly good at adapting when things went wrong. So, I mean, Brian Flores' defense right now, they're third in points allowed. The LA Chargers and Pittsburgh Steelers are the only team that have allowed a fewer amount of points. They are first in takeaways again after the Green Bay Packers were on bye. Frauds. They're first in turnover percentage. They're tied for seventh in net passing yards per attempt, and they're fourth in rushing yards per attempt. And again, they were playing Mac Jones yesterday. They're playing an offense that looked like they had no clue what they were doing in a lot of things. I mean, Doug Peterson went up there and he's like, you guys wouldn't understand. Benjamin Solak, I reposted it on X, had a very good breakdown of that play and what he kind of thinks happened because they don't have the all 22. It was posted on Sunday night. But basically, Gabriel Davis was supposed to run through Cam Bynum, and he just didn't do that. He tried to run a post route in the middle because of the coverage the Vikings were playing, and Mac Jones thought he was going to keep going straight. That's why the pass was to the corner of the end zone, and Cam Bynum caught it like a can of corn. Great celebration, by the way, with the ray gun. I have a feeling Ray Gunn is going to blow the Galler horn at some point to finish the year after that, because I don't know, his celebrations have been on point. People like the Parent Trap one. There was the Usher dance, I think, at one point. And then yesterday he broke out the ray gun. And then on the other interception, I can't remember who had it, but Jackson DeVille got it all up in there and tried to shut stuff down. But he was not able to shut down the ray gun. Let's put it that way. This defense has been the most exciting part of this team this year because they just made other teams look silly. I mean, when you look at some of the other teams that they've, gone toe to toe with, like the 49ers, they beat them. Yes, that was without Christian McCaffrey, but they still ran the ball pretty well with Jordan Mason in that game. The Texans, they were without Joe Mixon, but they had Nico Collins, they had Stephon Diggs, they had Tank. I mean, they had a full array of weapons in the passing game, and they made CJ Stroud basically cry in the middle of the field. The Packers got whooped in that first half at Lambeau Field. They brought it to a Lions team outside of that second quarter where they rattled off 3 straight scores. And in the last 2 games, I feel like they found a full game consistency that they haven't had since week 3, where they're limiting what opponents can do. I know Joe Flacco, Mac Jones, not exactly a Murray's Row. You get the walking meme machine, Will Levis next week, unless Brian Callahan decides to, go back to Mason Rudolph because he didn't look great on Sunday. They're doing their job. And if the Vikings go on a Super Bowl run, it's going to be the defense that carries them. It's going to be the defense that puts them in a position to win. And it's going to be on Sam Darnold to make the good plays, not the bad ones, to get them those wins. And I mean, it's not like there's a dominant team in the NFL right now. Like, you could say the Lions, but even last night, watching the Lions, it was kind of like, okay, the Texans got them dead to rights. Lions made a good comeback. That's good on them. But, if the field goal goes a little, like Vikings fans know, like if you got a kicker that's making all those kicks, eventually that pendulum swings back the other way. And the field goal might go a little to the left, a little to the right, might graze that post a little bit. And, maybe a win becomes a loss. But I don't think they're lucky. I think they're a very good team. But I've seen the Vikings go blow for blow with them in person. And if it weren't for a couple of plays, maybe an injury to Blake Cashman, that game turns out a little bit differently. We don't know. We'll see them again in week 18. Be interesting if something's on the line. Zadarius Smith will be there. He will be hyped up because apparently he did wrong in his contract, but oh well. It doesn't scare me. It does not. Even though Cam Robinson got absolutely plowed yesterday. I think Adam sent me. He's sending me his stat this morning. So yeah. Oh my. Cam Robinson allowed a career high 11 quarterback pressures on 42 pass blocks. David Questenberry could have done that, but yeah, not a good day against his former team. And that could be a little bit too, like, the Jaguars know what they were going up against, but Cam Robinson didn't have a good day. He got pancaked, and I was like, is that Bradbury? Is that Ingram? And I saw 74, and I'm like, not great. Not great. But the rest of the NFC, like, just look at it. Current playoff picture has the Vikings as the 5th seed. Are you fearing a trip to Arizona right now? I'm not. I mean, we'll find out more about them in a couple of weeks, but they absolutely smashed a bad Jets team at home on Sunday. So, I mean, I don't know. Get them in US Bank Stadium. Let's see what they're made of in a couple of weeks. Are you feeling the Falcons right now? Kirko went back to the Kirko we all know and love, because yes, the clock was running down. They need to get a first down and get it out of bounds to have one more shot, maybe a more organized Hail Mary, but clock's ticking. It's like Talladega Nights where they put the Lucky Charms underneath the car and they say it's cocaine and Ricky Bobby's got to drive away. That's basically Kirk's situation. And he just kind of was like, well, I'll explain everything. Little check down there. Not quite 4th and 8 in a playoff game, but we tried to warn you, Falcons fans. And one Falcon fan really did not like that because he called me, and I quote, a fat fuck online. So there is that. Are you going to Philadelphia is no joke. Vikings fans know that, but are you nervous about that team? And like I said, you already went blow for blow with the Lions. I would pick the Lions if they played in a playoff game today, but things can change. So I don't know. I mean, this is a year where it's wide open, and the Vikings have a 91% chance to make the playoffs. Now, I'm not going to mention the Twins, who had a 90% chance to make the playoffs in August and then completely fell out of the race for a myriad of reasons. But this is a playoff team. And can this playoff team do enough to win? They're not a dominant team, but they are a good team. And I think they're good enough to get a playoff win if the cards fall right. Not like in the same way where like Mike Zimmer, it was like a slot machine where you needed, everything to hit and then you got the jackpot. I think this is a team where, if you have a couple of things go right, it's good enough to give you a chance to win. It's almost like, it's more like blackjack at this point, right? Like, I mean, I'm not a big casino gambler or anything, so this analogy is falling apart pretty quickly. But it's like, you get a couple of good cards, you have a chance to win. Sometimes the dealer pulls a 21 and you're like, damn. But I think, the cards are coming up right where you're increasing your probability to get wins. And I think that sets up good for the playoffs, where this team isn't relying on flukes. They're not relying on, the other team to make a bad play. They are making plays themselves and it's working out. And that's a big reason why they're 7-2 in the middle of the playoff race. So before we continue, and by the way, I'm looking right now, send me your questions if you got any. If you got any Vikings questions, I'd love to answer them at the end of the show. If we don't have any, I'll just simply log off. We're going to try and stay on until noon. So there's all that. We just got to acknowledge someone and then we'll head on out. But Underdog, it's the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. Compete against other players by just selecting higher or lower on 2 or more player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. Underdog is the best place to cash in on all of your takes this football season. which players are going off, which ones are ice cold. Make your entries in just a few taps and turn your sports opinions into real money. Underdog also has vulture protection. If you select a designated running back to score a touchdown in your pick'em entry and they get vultured, we will rescue your entry. And Underdog has a game known as Red Zone Rush. Or actually, it's now Pocket Presence, I believe. It's if a quarterback throws for over 200 yards, or I think 220 yards, you just swipe left or right, and your entry is automatically boosted, and you'll get a yes when you play. So I'm totally butchering the same thing, but it is Pocket Presence. You swipe left or right, and you get it that way. I'm an Underdog player. I've been an Underdog player for years. Played a little bit yesterday. Thought it was going to be a blowout, so I decided to spice things up again. TJ Hawkinson receiving yards, got that. I thought Mac Jones would throw an interception. I got that as well. A little too confident on Justin Jefferson, though. He had like 91.5 receiving yards. Thought he'd get higher on that. Didn't exactly pan out for me, but hey, I had fun, right? I didn't die, so that's great. But you can win cash too if on your hunches like I did. Just download the app today. Use the code The Age. You get $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. And again, download the app today. Use the code The Age, all one word. Get $1,000 in bonus cash, or up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly as a deposit match. Select higher or lower on your favorite players and cash in on Underdog. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. If you're concerned with your play, or excuse me, terms apply, void in Colorado. If you are concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783, or text next step to 53342. And in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY, or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. A little bit of a rocky read. I apologize, but we got it. So without further ado, there's just one more thing we got to do here on the show, and it's a little bit called Acknowledge Him, which is a tribute to our tribal chief, Roman Reigns. But our Vikings tribal chief, Will Reichard, is out right now. So we have to acknowledge someone else. But I'm going to keep it with the special teams, because all three dudes on the special teams unit, they got a game ball, and they absolutely deserved it. John Parker Romo, or Parker Romo, I think he dropped the John name. I'm not sure. I think they said both on the broadcast, so who knows? But he went 4-4 yesterday on field goals. He was the entire Vikings offense. If he misses one of them, it's not a big deal because it's a 9-7 win, but it made things a little bit easier for Minnesota. So that was good. You obviously focused on the kicker, but it was honestly like the parts you don't usually notice unless they screw up that made the difference on the field goal unit. Jake McQuaid, he didn't screw up except for one play. It was a little bit of a high snap, but Ryan Wright was able to recover it. It was a high snap, put it down for Romo to get the kick, and they got a field goal there. All three guys on the field goal unit, I thought they did great, and it's why the Vikings had a win. It was the defense. It was the special teams. It was an offense that kept the ball away. The only thing they got to turn up are those bad Sam Darnold decisions. And, you know, when you think of it that way, like, it's just kind of like, okay, 7-2, wide open NFC. You just got to rewire Sam Darnold a little bit. Can you do it? You might not be able to, and that sucks. But they got a chance. They got a chance. That's all you can ask for. That is why I acknowledge you, the special teams unit of the Vikings, the field goal unit in particular, for a very good day there. So no questions. I don't see any in the comments, and I don't know. Restream changed their setup a little bit, so it's a little bit wonky as far as, you know, I'm not even sure if I'm like live right now. It says live. I see people watching. Thank you for watching if you're here. But it's definitely a rocky road by myself without Adam being like, oh yeah, you're good, man. So thank you all for watching, listening to me ramble on for 35 minutes here. Check out the Viking Age. We got a lot of analysis on Sunday's win. I wrote a little something about Kirk Cousins checking down in the fourth quarter again. There's a lot of good stuff, probably some Sam Darnold things that'll come out here in the next couple of days. Maybe there will be something bad on Cam Robinson. It's all over at the Viking Age. We do a lot of great stuff there. Obviously, we have the podcast here. We do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. And we're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word for the masses. I am Chris Schad. Follow me on X. Follow me on Threads. Follow me on Instagram. I'm at The Real Chris Schad. This has been the Viking Age Podcast.